Hey, Perry Tinsley here, creator of the Power Blast podcast, owner of PutYourselfFirst.com. And thanks for joining me on this journey as I share the decade for change. What happened since the loss of my wife 10 years ago. And, what's changed, what lessons have been learned, and, many things that I think can benefit you out there, whether it happens to be this particular video or another one that I do or another blog post. So this one, the lesson here was forgiving yourself, and it's really pretty interesting. When I lost Terri, and I had sent her on her way to go and get a root canal earlier that day, I knew that she was deathly afraid of it. But she had set the appointment. I totally forgot about the appointment, and I had already booked, filming a classroom lesson throughout the day. So really didn't think much of it, and she didn't bring it up. But the interesting thing is, Terri had asked me to drive her to her dental appointments the past 2 times, because she was stressed out and really wanted to just kind of relax and sleep and whatever on the way home, and not worry about those different things that were going on with with her situation, and with I guess she just didn't like dentists at all. So the one of the biggest things was, for me, was I knew that, yet here she was going for a root canal, compared everything in the world to that being the worst thing ever. And it caught me off guard, sent her on her way. So it was really hard. It was very easy to blame myself for that situation happening, because you get a lot of things run through your head when you lose somebody. So why didn't I take the day off and go and drive her there? And so that was really, really hard to deal with, because all the what if scenarios start creeping into your head. What if I would have taken off? What if I would have driven her there? And what if I would have brought her back? And I know a bunch of you out there are already, starting to say, oh gosh, if it was meant to be, it was going to happen anyway. And some of you have seen The Time Machine and all that sort of thing. And yeah, I suppose you can do that. But when you're faced with that situation, you don't think that. And, for anybody to say it, you don't want to admit it, and you don't want to do it. All you want to do is you go through a lot of different emotions, and you want to point the finger, you want to blame, and you want to blame the semi driver, and you want to blame the weather, and you want to blame yourself. What could have done differently? All the situations, what could have been orchestrated differently? And there were things that could have been done differently. And then you start to go, what if that would have done it? That would have changed it. I wouldn't be in this situation. I wouldn't have had this loss. People wouldn't have lost their loved one, or their daughter, or their daughter-in-law, sister-in-law. They wouldn't have. And people would say, you can't blame yourself, you can't do that. And the thing was, I kept that blame inside me pretty much. There were only a few people that I actually shared my feelings with, only because I knew what would be, or at least I anticipated what would be thrown back at me, and I didn't really want to hear that. Talk to the hand, right? And so that was that. So there's the lesson for today is, I know a lot of you out there have lost somebody, or there have been some situations, and that wasn't your fault. But it's really easy to internalize that and beat yourself up and go on. And if that's one thing I've learned, and it's been easy to let go, is one thing is to forgive myself, and to realize, it was a situation that was out of my control. So there really wasn't anything for me to actually forgive. But because I placed so much blame on myself mentally for that situation, I needed to go through the forgiving process. And, it was hard and it took a long time because, you replay the scenarios and the what ifs. But life doesn't, life will throw you curves all the time. And it isn't always the easiest to control everything. And everything just doesn't neatly fit into a nice little square-sized box. It just doesn't. And you've got to realize that and figure out the things that you need to forgive yourself for to help you move on, to help you expand, to help you celebrate and recognize, and to not be shackled and tied down to certain things, because you never do end up moving forward. And I know that I've talked to a lot of people that have lost loved ones that really have a hard time getting past those things just because the pain is so much. But there's a lesson for today, and thanks for tuning in. Boy, that great color behind me, right? Very nice. See ya.